quiet in here today. So good to see everybody. We enjoyed the warm weather that we got while we were outside. I'm learning the kind of weather that I can handle and the kind of weather that I cannot handle. And somewhere in the mid 80s is not good for me. And mid 70s is good. Upper 60s is good. But anywhere in there is good. Anything above that, not my cupcake. Not my cupcake. But we're glad to be home, and so good to see everybody. Amen. Acts chapter 27, verses 14 through 20. We will be pretty much staying in Acts chapter 27 today. I want to thank everybody that is watching online, and I hope that you'll leave us a comment. Let us know that you're there. I do, like I've said many times, go back and read those comments, and it's just encouraging to see all of those that are watching online. Amen. Acts 27, 14 through 20. But not long after, there arose against it a tempestuous wind called Euroclydon. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. And running under a certain island, which is called Clauda, we had much work to come by the boat, which when they had taken up, they used helps, undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksand, strake sail, and so were driven. And we, being exceedingly tossed with the tempest, the next day they lightened the ship. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was taken away. I want to talk to you today about I have hope if I have Jesus. I have hope if I have Jesus. Lord, we thank you for this word today. We ask you, God, let your Spirit move upon each and every person that is here today. God, I don't know what every person is going through, those here and those online. But I know, God, that in the midst of any storm, and I know, God, in the midst of any circumstance or situation, I have hope if I have Jesus. And I pray tonight you'll speak to our hearts, God. Bring hope in our situations. In Jesus' name, amen. You may be seated. I enjoy the water. I really enjoy the water. When I was a kid, my dad had this boat in the backyard when we lived in New Jersey, and he was going to refinish it and get it ready, and we were going to go out on the lake, and we were going to fish and do all that stuff. And I remember that boat, but that boat never got finished. And then we moved to Alaska, and we had the Kenai River, and Dad talked about he was going to build a boat. Dad was a welder. Dad could build a boat. And every year came and went, and Dad never built a boat. And I grew up, and I got a family, and I thought, I want a boat. We went down to the Kenai River, and we were fishing on the bank, and it was very hard to find a place to fish for myself and my little girls. Anytime you got to the river and you would fish, they could not stand in the river because they weren't tall enough, so they had to stand on the bank. And I remember one time we found this perfect little place that we were fishing, and sooner or later, other people found that perfect little place. And the next thing I know, I have grown men standing right in front of my daughters. And so I got to get a boat. And I remember the first boat I got, that old blue boat. And bought that boat, and we piled that boat full of stuff. I mean, full of stuff. There was totes in there, and blankets, and toys, and bears, and coloring books, and you name it. And we went out fishing, and we fished, and we fished, and we fished. And we enjoyed our summers, spending our summers on the Kenai River. and it was a lot of fun. The river is a lot different than the ocean. It is a tremendously different environment than the river, or than the ocean. And I remember I bought a different ocean or river boat, the one I have now. And I remember first taking that out on the ocean, and it was no big deal because I stayed close to shore, and I knew that things would be okay. But I remember being out in Prince William Sound. And we went out in Prince William Sound in my riverboat. And I remember realizing for the first time, this is not a small lake. This is not a river. And the waves were big. And we were very concerned getting back to Whittier. I went out in Anilchik. I did a lot of different things, but I remember what it was like to be in that storm. Everything is good until you get into a storm. It seems like it's a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable time. The experience is good, but it can suddenly turn very deadly. It can be perfectly flat, things just great, but without warning, without even seeing it, you find yourself in the middle of a storm. Life is very similar to sailing on the seas. There are days that it's just sunshine and beautiful and popcorn and cotton candy, and we're just having a great, great, great time. And then there are days where the seas are rough and it's very uncomfortable for you in the situation that you're in. It's not fun. It's not good. It's just not your favorite day. But then there are days that it is much worse than that. And there are storms that can absolutely threaten to sink you and everything that is around you. I want to talk to you today about these storms. I want to let you know that whether you're in a storm right now, or whether you're headed to a storm, whatever situation that you're in, I want you to know we have hope because we have Jesus. We have hope because we have Jesus. Acts 27:13. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, loosing thence, they sailed close by Crete. This was the breaking point that convinced the soldiers and the sailors that this was the opportunity they were looking for. They knew the season was not good. They knew that they were in the season that the storms do come. But they knew also that there were breaks in the storms that they could capture and that they could use to their advantage to go and to get to the place that they wanted to. So they looked at all of the information that they had. They looked at their years of experience. These were not just novice men. These were not men that had just begun to sail. These were men that knew the seas, that knew that area, that understood what it was that needed to be done. And they looked at the weather. They looked at what they could see. They didn't have forecasts. They didn't have things like that. But they looked at what they could, and they said, we have obtained the window that we needed. And so they made a decision. The soft wind convinced them that smooth sailing was ahead. The signs that they were looking for showed them that it was okay. You can proceed. It's going to be good. Acts 27:9 and 10. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, because the fast was now already past, Paul admonished them and said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the lading of the ship, but also of our lives. Before they decided to go, before they made a decision that they should go in the place that they were supposed to go, They were warned by the man of God. This does not, I perceive, I'm not a sailor. I have not been on the seas. This was not Peter, who had some experience as a fisherman. This was Paul. But Paul, regardless, said, I perceive, I feel in the Spirit, I am feeling by the hand of God that this is not a good thing for us. And I am telling you, what I am feeling is more than just it's going to be damage to the ship. I'm telling you that there is damage to the lives of the people that will be on this voyage. I'm telling you, don't do this. Don't go. But they did not listen to the man of God, and they decided that what was in their best interest was what their plans were and what they saw and their experience and what they understood. And so they decided to push forward. Verse 14. This word but. Such a powerful little word. It changes everything. Good winds. Good sailing. Nice days. Sunshine. Let's go sailing today. We have gotten what we needed. But not long after, there arose against it a tempestuous wind called Euroclydon. Euroclydon in the Greek literally means a typhonic wind or a typhoon. These men left port, and it was calm. And they looked on the horizon. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. They got their red sky at night. They got the calm winds. It was blowing just the way that they needed it to go. They looked at everything and they said, it's good. And they went out, but not long. It don't take long. And suddenly, you have to understand, these men were honestly looking at everything and trying to do what was right. They did not look at things and say, it looks like it's going to be rough, but let's try it anyways. They were honestly trying to do right. And not long after that they went out, suddenly a typhoon. Sister Mary Irene, that blows my mind. I have been out on the water. Scott, we've been out on the water. And when I'm out there, it calls for, I look at and it calls for this, and I'll look, and in the distance there is a blue haze. And when you see the blue haze, you know something's coming. It's not going to get better. What is coming my direction will not calm the seas. But what these men saw in just a short period of time, 1-2 days, from red sky at night, sailor's delight, to a storm that blew in so fast and so quick, it was a typhoon. It didn't slowly build. It hit. It just hit. It just hit. Life is like that. It seems like things before us are looking good. Kids are doing good. Mom, dad doing good. Church doing good. Jobs doing good. Dogs doing good. Everybody's doing good. But suddenly, without warning, hope for reaching the destination in our life looks like it's possible for us, and we can make plans to move on in that direction. But suddenly, without warning, we start to see the seas that we're sailing on become very rough. At first, it's just an uncomfortable ride, something that makes the journey a little more difficult. I don't like this. Car's breaking down. Kids are getting out of hand. Things are just, boss is on me. Things just gets a little rough. But soon we see what is coming our way is not an uncomfortable journey. It is an immense storm. It is a huge storm. 15 and 16. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. And running under a certain island, which is called Clauda, we had much work to come by the boat. When we're out there in the middle of that storm, and it got rough to the point that the ship couldn't bear up against it, we just let her go where she needed to go. We quit trying to go in that direction. We quit trying to make headway towards Rome. And we said, we're not going to be able to do that, so we need to go where the wind is blowing us. And there's an island back there. Let's let her drive, but we're going to get behind this island. You see, when you're in a storm, if you're on the lee side of the island, it can be much calmer back there. It could be a lot easier back there. You get behind that island and the wind is not able to thresh the water like it does on the other side. And so you get some kind of safety, some harbor, some security by going behind the island. They went behind the island. They looked for the natural things that could bring them some relief from the midst of the storm. They abandoned plans. They just went someplace that was safe. We just need somehow to get where there was less waves and where we could find some kind of safety. Verse 17. Which when they had taken up, they used helps, undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksand, strake sail, and so were driven. They're behind the island. They're in a place that it should be less turbulent and less bad. But the Bible says that it got so bad behind the island that they put ropes, they undergirded the ship to try to keep it together because the pounding of the waves was so bad that they were afraid it was going to break the boat up. So they undergirded the boat. They put ropes, they strapped it, trying to help hold that boat together. This is behind the island. This is the place of natural safety. And it got so bad that they said, we strake sail, we got out of there. We were afraid that we were going to get pushed up into the quicksand. And so we had to get out of there. And they went out into the raging of the storm. They were pushed out of that place of somewhat safety and out into the raging of the storm. 18 and 19. And we, being exceedingly tossed with the tempest, the next day they lightened the ship, and the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. It's not getting any better. We had to leave the little place that we thought we were going to be able to stay, and we had to get out of there, and now we are exceedingly tossed with the tempest. Now it is a roaring, raging sea, and it is pounding against our boat. The pounding that the ship was taking was increasing. It was not getting less. It was not getting better. It was not releasing. It was not going flatter. They were not finding a place of normality. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. We're doing everything that we know in helping this situation. We're using everything that we can to try to survive through this storm because it is getting worse and worse, and we don't know how much more the ship can take. And so with their own hands, they begin to take the cargo of the ship and they begin to throw it over the side of the ship. What was supposed to be to their benefit, where they were going to get to Rome or whatever island, and they were going to sell this and make money. They were going to do something good with it. Now that's just all lost. All plans of profit are gone. We don't need this. Our lives are at stake right now. And so they take all of that. And then they take the very tackling of the ship. What is that? Those are the things that if we're going to be able to do anything with this ship, if we're going to be able to sail, if we're going to be able to do anything, we got to get rid of all of the weight that is on this ship because it can't take any more pounding. And so the tackling of the ship, they say with their own hands. That's Paul being incredulous and saying, with my own hands, I took the very things that were necessary and I threw them into the sea. I took the things that were so important to being able to do anything in this boat. Money didn't matter in this situation. Nothing mattered in the situation. The storm is raging to the point that we're not thinking about progressing anywhere. We are not trying to get to any destination. We are trying to survive. We're just trying to survive. We want to save our life. This is a situation in which so many people find themselves in. They are just trying to get through life with as little trouble as possible. They're just trying to get from day to day with as smooth of a seas as they can possibly find. They don't want storms, but some people create their own storms. Some people are a storm unto themselves. Other people, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't Paul's fault. He didn't make the decision to go. He told them not to. The prisoners, some of the other sailors probably said, hey, we need to listen to this guy. Sometimes storms just come and you're caught in the typhoon, unaware and entrapped without any recourse. Either way, whether you did it yourself or you're caught in it, you're trying to figure a way to move forward. I still have my plans. I still have things I want to do. I set out on this journey. I just need to navigate around these little troubles. The waters are getting rougher. But I really feel like if I can just do this, and if I can just do that, and if I can just work around this, I'll be able to make to the place that I want to. But suddenly this storm gets worse, and it gets to the place that now I just want to find a safe place, and I just want to wait this thing out. I just want to get into a place where I don't have to really, I don't have to get beat up so bad with this situation. I want to get behind an island. I want to get to a place where maybe it's not calm seas, maybe it's not smooth, but it's at least a place that I can get a good night's sleep, that I don't have to worry that things are going to be destroyed, and I can just get to a place in the midst of this storm where if I just wait it out here, eventually it's going to pass over. But sometimes the storm makes it into your safe place, and sometimes the storm makes it into the around that island, and it starts driving you in places that if you don't get out of there, it's going to destroy you behind the island. And so you're forced out into the middle of it, and you find yourself in the midst of the raging storm. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And soon you're no longer thinking about getting to that place that you originally set out. Now you're just trying to survive, and you're just trying to have some kind of future. That's all you want to get out of this right now. You're just trying to survive. But the winds are increasing, and the waves are crashing over the bow of your boat. And now you're taking the things that were important to you and you're letting go of them. You start doing everything you can just to be able to survive. And you're no longer trying to wait out the storm. You're fighting for your life. I need to make it through the next wave. I just need to make it through the next wave. Verse 20. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. This is such a powerful statement. This is such a powerful moment in their lives. Here's the key verse to this whole passage. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, I couldn't see light in the midst of my situation. And there was nothing but blackness that was before me. And I looked up, and I tried to find light in the middle of this situation. And I looked to my left, and there was no light. And I looked to the heavens, and there was no light. I looked to the right, I looked forward, I looked behind, and there was no light. And I knew that there should be light. This should be noonday. This should be dawn. This should be the breaking. But I find myself in a storm that has consumed me to the point that there is no light. I can't see stars. I can't see sun. I can't see anything. All of the things that would help me to see that there might be a breaking in the storm, that there might be a way out. There's got to be some light. The darkness and the blackness of this storm overwhelmed us to the point that there just was no light. There was no light. There was no light. It was completely total darkness. And it lingered. And it wasn't just a day. It wasn't just 2 days. It wasn't just 3 days. It was many days out there. And they saw no light. And no small tempest lay on us. I couldn't have any light in the midst of my situation, and I was in total darkness. But to add to that, Sister Heather, I couldn't even get a peace in the midst of the storm. No small tempest came. No, I didn't ask it to stop. I just asked for, can it just release a little? And no small tempest came. Not just a day, not just 2 days, many days. Beaten and haggard. No light and no small tempest that would come. The wind refused to calm down. When I had hoped that at some point there would be a break in this storm. When I had just hoped that there would be a way out. After all of these things, after all of our work, after everything that we had done, then this, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. I don't have any hope left. I've lost all my hope. It's just darkness. It's a raging storm, and it won't relent. We've done everything that we know to do. We've undergirded the ship. We've thrown out the tackle. We've gotten rid of all of the cargo. And we have no hope. We resigned ourselves to the destruction that we knew awaited us. How many people do you know like that? How many times have you stood in that situation? Put every effort that you can think into saving and salvaging their situation and their life. They've tried everything that they can to calm the storm or just possibly wait it out. But after many days, many weeks, many months, even many years, there appears no light and no small tempest to lay on them. And they lost all hope. They gave up ever finding a way through this. We walk through a world of people who are in that situation. They work with you. They are around you. They put a smile on their face as best they can. But they live in a storm that won't go away. And they live in a place where there is no light, and they find themselves in total darkness, and they have resigned themselves. This is just the way it's going to be. I'll never be happy in my life. I'll never find joy. I'll never find peace. I'll never find comfort. I'll never find a way out of this. They resign themselves to that situation. This is my storm, and I must bear it. This is my life, and I must live in it. I'm just trying to make it through the next wave and the next wave and the next wave. I'm not trying to do anything with my life. I have no hope of going anywhere. I have no hope of seeing light. I have no hope of anything at all. I have given up everything that I thought was of value, and I have even taken the things out of my life that I needed to bring me any hope that I would ever make something of my life. I have taken it with my own hands, and I have thrown it into the sea. And now I'm just waiting to die. And now I'm just waiting to die. Verse 21 through 25. First word. I'm in a situation. Roger, it ain't good. And it's not getting better, and I have lost all hope. I'm to the point that every hope that I have, that I would be saved out of this situation, I have given up every bit of my hope. And this one word comes into my life. But, there's a change. There's a change. I'm in this situation. It is destruction that I'm looking at. It is certain that I will lose my life and everybody on this boat. It is certain that nothing will get better. But after a long absence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, ye should have listened unto me, and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. You should have listened to the man of God. You should have listened to what he told you to do. You should have listened, and you would have avoided this danger. But here we are. Here we are. But, and now I exhort you to be of good cheer. Why? For there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. How do you know that, Paul? Are you just trying to make us feel good? Or are you just giving us words? Or are you just here to counsel us and console us in the midst of our grief? Are you just trying to put a happy face up? You turn that frown upside down. It don't work. Oh, you can rah, and you can ho, and you can do all of the stuff that you want. I can tell you it's going to be okay. I can tell you it's going to be all right. You're going to make it through this. It's going to be good. You'll be okay. You'll survive this storm. You just need to push on. And that won't help you a bit. That doesn't soothe a thing. That doesn't calm a storm. That doesn't bring light in the darkness. It doesn't do anything. But Paul had a message. Verse 23, for there stood by me this night an angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve. God sent an angel to me in the midst of my storm. God sent an angel to me in the midst of this raging seas when I myself, we all lost hope. When I myself, the preacher of the gospel, when I myself, Paul, had lost all hope, God sent an angel into the midst of the storm. There in the tossing of the ship, there in the tossing of the seas, there in the midst of the pain, there in the midst of the dreary, there when I thought I was going to die, He sent an angel to me. He's the angel of the God that I serve. I love my God. I have lived for my God. I have put my life in His hands. I have made a covenant with Him. He is my God. And my God, Brother Art, my God sent His angel to me. In the midst of my raging storm, in the midst when it all looked black, when in the midst of everything looked like it was going to be destruction, my God sent an angel to me. And the angel didn't come to give me my last rites. Verse 24, the angel said unto me, fear not, Paul. Don't fear, Paul. It looks bad, but don't fear, Paul. Why? Because I got a calling on your life. There's something that I've called you to do. And there is a place that you're supposed to go. And I placed that calling on you a long time ago. When you were first converted, I said to Ananias that he is going to do many mighty works for me. He is a called vessel that I have chosen to go do a work for me. And you're not done yet, Paul. And this thing isn't over yet, Paul, because I've got a calling on your life. And your calling is greater than the storm. And your calling is greater than the suffering. And your calling is greater than the waves and the wind and the darkness. Your calling is greater. You've got to go to Rome, Paul. You've got to witness to Caesar. You've got to stand before him and tell him this great gospel. Your life's not over. This thing is not done. Because you got a calling on your life. Thou must be brought before Caesar. And lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee. It's going to be okay for you, Mary Irene. But not just you. Your family's going to be okay. You're going to be okay, Scott. You're going to be okay, EJ. Not just you. Not just your whole family is going to be okay. It's a calling on you. Something God wants you to do. Something that He has for you. In the midst of your storm, don't look at the darkness. Don't look at God has sent an angel to you to tell you it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. In the midst of your storm, in the midst of your trouble, you've got to go to Caesar. You must stand before him. I need you to go there. And so it doesn't matter the situation that you're in, and it doesn't matter what you're facing right now, because the storm can't overcome my calling on you. And I've given you everybody that is with you. Everybody's going to be okay. It's not that the ship's going to sink and everybody dies, but we're going to get you to shore. Nope. Your life is meant to be a blessing to everyone on this ship. If you hadn't been here, Paul, I wouldn't care about these men. They would go into the sea and they would die. But you have a calling on your life, and because you are attached to them, because you are with them, Paul, I will give all the lives that are on this boat with you. You see, the calling that is on your life will cover those that are around you. The calling that is on your life will bring safety and security to those that are with you. God has set a calling on your life, Paul, and you've got to go. Can I tell you today that there is hope in the midst of your storm? Can I tell you today that even though you haven't seen light for a long time, even though no small tempest has come to calm things down, there is hope in your situation. If I have Jesus, I have hope. If I have Jesus, no storm can sink me. If I have Jesus, it doesn't matter how many times the waves will crash over the bow. He could come walking on the water in a moment. I could wake him and he could calm the seas. It doesn't matter the situation. There's a calling, there's a purpose, there's a reason. And it can't sink me. Verse 22 through 24. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and who I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all that is with you. Lift up your head, Paul. Lift up your head. I don't see light, Amy. I don't see it. But that doesn't mean it's not out there. Just because I can't see it right now, it doesn't mean that the light is not out there. It is out there. The light is there. I'm in the situation. Nobody can deny that. We're in the storm. Nobody can deny your storm. But you have to lift up your head and realize that you have a calling on your life and it can't destroy you. All you can do is what the soldiers were going to do. Get in that little boat and cut the cord and drop into the sea. And Paul said, if you don't remain in the boat, even though the boat will be destroyed, but if you don't remain in this boat, you'll die. Don't try to make your own way. Don't try to save yourself. Listen to the man of God. Listen to what God has spoken. And then you'll see that even though I don't see light, even though I don't see day, there is hope. And then, Sister Ramona, the Bible tells us that they did see light. Because they could see that there was shore over there. And they could see that there was a place to go to. And they pulled their anchors. And they went towards shore. And the boat was broken up. And they all found their way to shore. Paul stood before them that day and told them that there was hope. And there was hope because of Jesus. I can be in the middle of the storm that is going to destroy every hope that I have. But I can have hope if I have Jesus. It doesn't matter the size of your storm. It doesn't matter how long you've been in it. If you have Jesus, you have hope. If you have Jesus, you're going to make it through this. If you have Jesus, there will be light in the midst of your darkness. The storm cannot stay forever. If you go under the Isle of Crete today, you will not go into the storm that Paul found himself in. The storm came and the storm passed. There is a way out of the storm. It will go away. If you have Jesus, there will be light in the midst of your darkness. If you have Jesus, the storm is going to pass. If you have Jesus, the situation can change in a moment. I do not understand sometimes why we go through these storms in life. I have had people stand before me, good people, honest people, with pain like I can't imagine. Pain that I look on their face and I don't even know how to relate to that. Sister Risha, I don't have the words to say. I wish that I was a wise man. I wish that I was a more discerning man. I wish that I just had everything, but I look at those situations. I don't know what to tell you about your storm. I don't know why you're here. I don't know why this happened. I know you didn't deserve this, and I know that you did nothing to create this. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I know this. That if you'll just look to Him, I know it's dark right now, and I know you can't see where you're going, and I know you're being tossed to the point you can't even stand up. I've been on the boat where it tossed you around so violently that there was no foothold and no way. All you could do was grab onto the boat and hold and lean against it and try not to be thrown overboard. And I don't know why. Sister Heather, I don't know why. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could just say the words and fix everything. I wish I could just give the right counsel and everybody would go home happy. I can't do that. I can't. As much as I want to, I can't. But I can tell you that I have hope if I have Jesus. And all I can do in the midst of your storm and in the midst of your pain, in the midst of your suffering, all I can do to anyone is say, there is a God that loves you, and there is a God that cares for you, and there is a God that is watching over you. And like we sung the song, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You're in my life. You're looking over me. You're seeing my situation. I want you to just come in and pick me up and transport me over to the island out of the storm. But I got to ride through the storm. I got to go into the deep. I got to swim to the shore on a piece of the boat. But you're going to make it. 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 I have hope. I have hope if I have Jesus. Can we stand? Maybe you don't see them. I don't know that I've ever seen an angel. I'm certain that I have, but I didn't recognize them as angels. I don't know. I felt their presence. I've known that they've been in the room. But I do know this. I have angels that God has set charge to watch over me. And I know that God has set angels to watch charge over you. And I don't know who is here today that has a storm in your life. And I don't know who that is watching online today that has gotten to the place that you've given up your hope. All hope that we would be saved was then taken away. That doesn't have to be you. Will you hear me today? Will you listen to what God is trying to say to you? Don't give up hope. Look to Him. Look to Him. Cry out to Him. Oh, but I have cried out. Cry out again. Cry out again. God, help me. God, be my strength in the midst of my storm. God, be my help in the midst of my trial. God, be the strength and bring light into my darkness. If that's you, then I open these altars. If there are those that you love, that you know are in storms, and you want to pray over them, and they have been nothing but darkness and blackness, you can be a light to them.